Good morning, all my kids. I'm Auntie Cara, and this is Auntie Cara's Storytime. Today we are going to be reading If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. But before I dive in, I want to say a very special hello to my friend Harris. I hope you are well, and I hope you love this story. All right, let's get started. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it too. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes, that's what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here now are not quite good enough. You see things like these in just any old zoo. They're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. So I'd open each cage, I'd unlock every pen, let the animals go, and start over again. And somehow or other, I think I could find some beasts of a much more unusual kind. A 4-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet, at least. 5 legs on the left and 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, what a sight! The zookeeper, newkeeper, Gerald's quite keen. That's the gold-darndest lion I ever did see. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people talk. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people gawk. And the strangest odd creatures that ever did walk, I'll get from my zoo a new sort of hen, who roosts in another hen's topknot, and then another one roosts in the topknot of his, and another in his, and another in his, and so forth and upward and onward. Gee whiz! But that's just a start. I'll do better than that. They'll see me next day in my zookeeper's hat, coming into my zoo with an elephant cat. They'll be so surprised they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask when they see my strange animals come. Where do you suppose he gets things like that from? His animals all have such very odd faces. I'll bet he must hunt them in rather strange places. And that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. If you want to catch beasts you don't see every day, you have to go places quite out of the way. You have to go places no others can get to. You'll have to get cold and you'll have to get wet too. Up past the North Pole where the frozen winds squeal, I'll go and I'll hunt in my Skeaglemobile and bring back a family of what do you know? And that's how my new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will grow. I'll hunt in the mountains of Zumba Matant with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant, and capture a fine fluffy bird called a bustard who only eats custard with sauce made of mustard, and also a very fine beast called a flustered who only eats mustard with sauce made of custard. I'll catch 'em in caves, I'll catch 'em in brooks, I'll catch 'em in crannies, I'll catch 'em in nooks that you don't read about in geography books. I'll catch 'em in countries that no one can spell, like the country of Motofapotofapel. In a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beasts that you never saw ever. I'll load up 5 boats with a family of jotes whose feet are like cows but wear squirrel skins coats, and sit down like dogs but have voices like goats, excepting they can't sing the very high notes. And then I'll go down to the wilds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunks in a bucket. Then people will say, now I like that boy heaps. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is growing by leaps. He captures them wild, and he captures them meek. He captures them slim, and he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next week? I'll capture one tiny, I'll capture one cute. I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice he could sleep in your bed if it weren't for those horns that he has on his head. And speaking of horns that are just a bit queer, I'll bring back my very odd family of deer. A father, a mother, 2 sisters, a brother, whose horns are connected from one to the other, whose horns are so mixed they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end, can't tell where they start. Each deer's mighty puzzled, he's never yet found if his horns are hers or the other way round. I'll capture them fat, and I'll capture them scrawny, I'll capture the scragglefoot mulligatawny, the high-stepping animals fast as the wind from the blistering sands of the desert of Zend. The beast is the beast that the brave chieftains ride when they want to go fast and find some place to hide. A mulligatawny is fine for my zoo, and so is a chieftain. I'll bring one back too. In the far western part of southeast North Dakota lives a very fine animal called the iota, but I'll capture one who is even much finer in the northeastern west parts of South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, "Now by thunder, this new Zoo McGrew Zoo is really a wonder." Most beasts are quite friendly, but still in some lands some beasts are too dangerous to catch with bare hands. For those that are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build an animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with it a hunter can never get bit. A zoo should have bugs, so I'll capture the squirrel, whose legs are snarled up in a terrible snarl. And then I'll go out and I'll capture some chugs, some keen shooter, mean shooter, bean shooter bugs. I'll go to the African island of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-topped, tuft mazurka, a kind of canary with a quite tall throat. His neck is so long, if he swallows an oat for breakfast the first day of April, they say, it has to go down such a very long way that it gets to his stomach the 15th of May. Wow. I'll bag a big bug who is very surprising, a feather who has a propeller for rising, and zooming around making cross-country hops from Texas to Boston with only 2 stops. Now that sort of thing for a bug is just tops. And when I've caught him, the next thing you know, I'll go and I'll capture a wild tic-tac-toe. With X's that win and with zeros that lose, he'll look mighty good in the zoo of McGrew's. I'll bring back a gusser, a gherkin, a gasket, and also a gooch from the wilds of Nantasket. And 8 Persian princes will carry the basket, but what their names are, I don't know, so don't ask it. In a cave of Khartoum lives a beast called a gnatch that no other hunter's been able to catch. He's hidden for years in his cave with a pouch, and no one's been able to make him come out, but I'll coax him out with a wonderful meal that's cooked by my cooks in my cooker-mobile. They'll fix up a dish that is just to his taste. 3 chicken croquettes made of library paste, then sprinkled with peanut shucks, pickled and spiced, then baked at 600 degrees and then iced. It's mighty hard cooking to cook up such feats, but that's how the new Zoo McGrew Zoo gets beasts. I'll go to the faraway mountains of Tobisk. Near the river of Nobisk, I'll bring back Nobisk, a kind of a thingamabosk who eats only rhubarb and corn on the Kopsk. The people will flock to my zoo in a mosque. McGrew, they will say, does a wonderful job. He hunts with such vim, he hunts with such vigor, his new Zoo McGrew Zoo gets bigger and bigger. And speaking of birds, there's the Russian Paluski, whose head ski is red ski and belly is blue ski. I'll get one of them for my Zooski McGrewski. Then the whole town will gasp why this boy never sleeps. No keeper before ever kept what he keeps. There's no telling what this young feller will do. And then just to show them, I'll sail to Katroo and bring back an inkooch, a preep and a prue, a nurgle, a nerd, and a zeer sucker too. I'll hunt in the jungles of Hippo no hungus, and bring back a flock of wild Bippo no bungus. The Bippo no bungus from Hippo no hungus are better than those in Dippo no dungus, and smarter than those in Nippo no nungus, and that's why I'll catch them in Hippo no hungus. Instead of those others in Nungus and Dungus, people will say when they see these bips flounding, this zookeeper, newkeeper is simply astounding. He travels so far that you think he would drop. When do you suppose this young fellow will stop? Stop? Well, I should, but I won't stop until I've captured a Fizz-a-Wizz-a-Dill, the world's biggest bird from the island of Guac, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back home to my park, the whole world will say young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's whole ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses have made him the greatest of all the McGrewses. Wow, they'll all cheer. What this zoo must be worth. It's the gold-darndest zoo on the face of the earth. Yes, that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. I'd make a few changes if I ran the zoo. And that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.